Okay guys, we're a minute behind, but thanks for coming to see us this morning. And is there anybody out there who's got chimneys at home? Okay, so hopefully a lot of you are all going to understand a lot of what I'm actually saying. So today's presentation is basically called Your Chimney is Like an Open Window. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all the heat from inside your house is going up the chimney, and nobody's talking about the chimney. So, I'm Simon Wild, and I'm the inventor of CHIMELLA The Chimney Umbrella. Now, the reason I noticed that all the heat was going straight out of my chimney is I was on the roof one day because my builders had done a runner, and basically they hadn't finished the roof off. So I went on the roof to find out what they hadn't done, and I leant over the chimney and it nearly took my eyebrows off. And at that point, I realised, why is all the heat coming straight out of the chimney? So I rang my wife up and said, why have you got the fire on? And she said, I haven't got the fire on. And that's when we realised it was all the heating from the radiators that was going straight out of the chimney. So that's how I realised that's where the majority of all my heat was going. And after spending hundreds of thousands of pounds on doing my house up and insulating the house and new boilers, new radiators, all the underfloor heating, all the things that they do which are fantastic, none of them were actually working because there was a great big hole in the roof. So what we're trying to do today is I'm trying to give you an understanding of how the biggest hole in the roof, okay, is basically draining all the heat from inside your house. And what I want to use is a common sense approach rather than trying to blind you with figures. I will blind you with figures at some point, but they'll go straight over your head and you'll be wondering what we're going on about. So what we're going to use is common sense. What we're also going to do is we're going to bust some of the myths around ventilation and chimneys. Okay, so lots of people think that chimneys are there for ventilation. Well, if that was true, all the houses that haven't got chimneys, are you going to go and put one in for ventilation? No. So that's not a true statement. So we'll get to that later on. And basically what we're going to help you to do as well is to maximise leaner budgets. So if you've got leaner budgets in your house, because everybody's feeling the pinch at the moment, and you want to reduce your costs, all these things are absolutely fantastic, but they cost lots and lots of money. So there's certain things you can do which are basically going to help you save money straight away, and then you can do the other things further on as you go down the line, okay? So let's have a look and see some market research for you. So these are the figures. So just before you fall asleep, we'll just get over these little points here. There are around 6.75 million dwellings in the UK with chimneys. That figure is played down because it's worked out by BRE. So they're trying to play down the amount of chimneys that are actually out there. Most houses will have multiple chimneys. So Victorian houses or anything that's sort of pre-1950, 1960, we didn't have central heating anyway. So what we were doing is we used fireplaces in all the rooms to keep your houses warm. So it was the main source of heating. So most houses have multiple chimneys. It's up to 20 million chimneys in the UK alone. So it's a colossal amount. Not all of these are just open chimneys. Some of them have got log burners in there, some have got electric fires in, some have got gas fires in. But most of these are actually figures that have been granted with open chimneys in there. Now, 80 to 500 cubic metres of air are drawn out of your chimney every single hour. It's a colossal amount. So if you look at this stage, there's probably 10 cubic metres of air that's in here. So you times that by 10 times, 20 times, 40 times, that's how much air is leaving your property. And it's basic air physics. It's about the size of your chimney, it's about the temperature outside, it's about warm air on the inside, and it's how the Venturi effect just draws the air out of your house. Now, it doesn't take a rocket science to say that if your central heating's on, trying to warm the house up all the time, and you're leaving that amount of air going out of your chimney, that's where all your money's going. You're not heating one house up, you're heating the whole street up, which is why our bills are so exceptionally expensive. Now, that may seem a bit random, 80 to 500, but chimneys vary in sizes all over the place. And I think one of the main reasons that nobody's ever tried to tackle the chimneys is because they are a bit of a nightmare. It's a bit of a dirty hole that nobody really wants to talk about, but when you look up the chimney, they're all over the place on the inside. So it's quite a difficult area to actually sort out, although we have sorted out, which we'll get to into a minute. But some of the large chimneys, some of the Inglenook fireplaces, it's 500 cubic metres because it's a bigger hole. And that bigger hole is just drawing out more and more heat. Okay? 12 times a day, sometimes more than that. All the air in your house, the whole volume of air goes out the chimney. All the air in your house. So if you imagine if you're in your living room and it's nice and warm and somebody opens the window, how quickly does that room go cold? So that's happening 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you've got 8 chimneys in your house, 8 times a day, that's happening from all the different rooms all over the place, okay? Okay, so all the other gaps in the house, as I've just said there, they don't even add up to the same amount of heat that you're losing through the chimney. What we're not saying is don't do the other gaps, they're obviously more important as well, but you've got to do the whole lot together. It's a bit like if you go and get a car and you go and get the engine fixed and you forget to put the tyres on. It's not going to go anywhere, is it? Yeah? So what's the point in spending thousands, hundreds of thousands of pounds doing our houses up and still ignoring the great big hole in the roof? If you go and get an air pressure test in your house, because the holes are so big in the chimneys, they can't get an air pressure test. So they seal them off, give you an air pressure test, unseal them and walk away going, thank you very much. And what's the point of that? Because it's not a true figure. Yeah? So you must do everything together. It all works together. So why is the great big hole in the roof never mentioned on major issues when you're looking at insulating your home? We've all got to think about that. Why? I know the reason why, and it's probably because they want you to spend lots and lots of money on double glazing, new boilers, ground source heat pumps, air source heat pumps, spend tens of thousands of pounds, and none of them will work efficiently if you've still got a great big hole in the roof. So what I'm saying is let's do this all together, because every single product has its position in a house to make your house better, but they have to work together. So we all love a fireplace. Years and years ago, you go into these big houses and they've got beautiful grand fireplaces. It's a sign of wealth. And we all aspire to have a fireplace in our home. But when you actually get into a house that's got a fireplace, you're going, oh my God, this is a nightmare. Yeah, because we're living in a different world. You can't walk around in your underpants like we do nowadays. Back in the day, everybody had smoking jackets, had coats on and everything else as well. And the Victorians used to have little stools to put their feet on and wing-back chairs because the draft going to the chimneys would go around them and it would take their ankles off the floor. So we forget about all that. So we sort of fantasize about these beautiful fireplaces. They are lovely, but totally ineffective. The one thing we don't like though is the big dirty holes in the roof. That one there, you can watch 747s flying over on its way to Heathrow. It's a great big hole in the roof. Every time it rains, it's coming into the house. The cold air, which is heavier than hot air, will sink down the chimney, comes into the house all the time. That is a massive, great big hole. And because they're wider at the bottom, they tend to fall in because there's no basically foundation which is stacking them up on the inside. So, how do we sort out the problem? Hey, the fantastic CHIMELLA The Chimney Umbrella, designed in 1 second to solve all your problems. So if I show you one of my little babies here, which I invented, the CHIMELLA. It takes 1 second, it's one click, that's all you've got to do. The beauty about it, even though this is square, it will fit any shape. Round, square, rectangular, triangle, it just adapts to whatever shape that you've got. And in one click, you'll open up to a warmer home. Now when you want to take it out, because some people want to use their fireplaces, not all the time, but sometimes they want to use them now and again. It is designed to be used every day. You can either put it up there and forget about it, or you can put it up, take it down, reload, job done. Put it up, take it down, job done. And what it also does is it collects all the dirt as well. Now, this will hold up to 2 kilos of dirt. That's a lot of dirt. So you can't shoot the messenger. Maybe you need to get your chimney swept if you're getting that amount of dirt that's coming in. But when that comes down, there's no mess at all. It closes on itself. You chuck it over your neighbour's fence, reload, job done. That's it. It's a brilliant bit of kit. And it's really, really simple. So of all the things that you're going to do, getting contractors round, people coming round to estimate to do the house, do whatever you're going to do in the house, that's something you can do yourself. And it's really, really quick. So heat in, dirt out, job done. Easy installation as we've just gone in there. Oh, one point that I didn't show you is we've also got a handle on the bottom so that when you've got it in the fire, what we obviously don't want you to do is light the fire when it's in, okay? So it has a handle which comes down, beautifully sculptured handle, to remind you, don't light the fire, you've just blocked it off. And if you've got an angle flue, that will fit any angle of any flue. Now, There are obviously, you're looking at that going, well, my chimney's a lot bigger than that. So let me show you that one there. So we have various sizes. 3 sizes will virtually fit every single chimney that you can. And they are all over the place. So obviously if you've got a big Victorian house, it's pretty wide. This baby here is a lot bigger, but it's also hugely flexible as well. So even though it's square or rectangular, that will still fit in a round flue as well. And then what we do, if you have the Lion, the Witch and the wardrobe in one of your big chimneys, we can fit it with that one as well, which is massive. So when you put that into your chimney, it's literally like closing the front door. Now that one there is this one. So even though it's rectangular in shape, it just adapts itself to whatever shape you've got on the inside of the chimney. Now, once it's in there, there's tiny, tiny little gaps around it. It's about 1 millimetre around it. And what that does, excuse me, I've just trapped my microphone wire in there. What that does is it allows a tiny little bit of warm air to go around it, okay? So hot air and cold air don't mix, like the Gulf Stream, right? Cold air and warm air go across each other. Cold air is heavier than hot, so it sinks down the chimney. It gathers into the shape of the chimella. It reflects away from the tiny bit of warm air around the edges. It's got nowhere to go, so it turns around, it starts to vortex and goes back up the chimney again. So you don't get any damp in your chimney. Now, this is where the problems are with a lot of chimneys and people don't want to look at them. People have been told you can't block your chimney off because you get damp. Yeah? Yes, you do if you seal it off with a board or you put insulation board in there, because basically the cold air sinks down, it's got nowhere to go. And that cold air is full of moisture, which is why it bleeds through the walls and you get the damp patches. But with Chimella, you don't get that because there's a movement of air moving around it all the time. So it's a basically win-win product. You can put it in there, leave it in there and forget about it, or you can use it every single night. And my record is 12,000 times using the same Chimella inside and outside of the chimney. It's a day of my life I'll never get back, but I had to do it to prove the point that these are pretty indestructible. So sustainability in my eyes is about stop buying things which are cheap, throw away and they go to landfill. Make a product, design it well and make it last for years and years and years. So I've only been going 10 years now, okay? No mean feats in the tough times that we've had. But in those 10 years, we've had probably about 60 back, which is from 40,000 sales is nothing, yeah? But they're designed to last for at least 20 to 25 years at least. So it's a great bit of kit and it lasts for years. We also do a super, super large one, which we do as a special for certain people. So this is even larger still. So that has got almost another foot on either side of it for the really, really big Inglenook fireplaces. But as you can say, closing that off is like closing the front door. That's not saving people a couple of £100 a year. That's saving them £2,000–3,000 a year. Because that is literally like having your front door open for the last 30 years, or well, probably about 400 years because it's quite an old house. Now, it also collects the dirt as well. Now, that is actually 3 kilos of dirt. I know because I weighed it, and that was the only time that the Chimellas have ever come down the chimney, because it's designed because of its mechanism. If you get a downdraft of wind comes down into the Chimella itself, the sides of it actually go tighter against the wall. So it will come down, turn around, back up the chimney again. If you open your front door, this can't shoot up the chimney because it's got, basically it's like little release valves at the side. It just goes shh, shh, shh. So it equalises the pressure, so it can't get pulled up the chimney as well. And it acts like almost like a little trickle vent on the outside of it. So it's fantastic. So the amount of dirt that it'll give. This one here was somebody had a rook problem. So it basically went into the chimney and the rooks were going on the top going, this is a nice warm toilet, away we go. Now that had been up there for 5.5 years and eventually it fell out because that's how much dirt was in it. All he did was take that out, shake it outside, most of it all comes straight out as well, straight back in the chimney, works perfectly fine again. Yeah, so that's what it's designed to do. Because if you don't do that, that's all going in your house. And usually the birds will come into your house as well. And if you've ever had a bird sitting on your sofa when you come down in the morning, giving it that, you know, it's one of those that you think, maybe we need to sort the chimney out. Okay, so value for money. So There is so much variation, and whichever organisation you go to, they're going to do something different with the figures. And there's so many anomalies in a house. Have you got a cat flap? Have you got leaky windows? Have you got more air vents? Have you got more chimneys? Have you got insulation on your walls? All these different things are going to vary completely. So pound for punch, Chimella's been worked out as one of the most energy efficient products on the market, because they're only costing between 75 and 120 quid, and it's saving you minimum £358 a year. Now, these figures can vary massively. If you've got a house with 8 chimneys and your bills are, you know, £20,000 a year, you know that if you're losing 30% of your heat out of the chimneys and then you're not losing 30%, that's 30% of your bill. It's way, way higher than that is there. So we've been part of Eco 3, and we're looking at going into Eco 4 at the moment. So we were sponsored by Ofgem, we were sponsored by E.ON, we're going down the government route, we've gone all the way there, we've proved that this is the most energy efficient product on the market, and they're still not mentioning it because they're now sending us back to SAPs. So now we've got to go through another process to actually get SAP points, so that when you go and get your EPC test in your house, you can put a Chimella in there and it'll actually make a difference. The problem is that there's so few points for each measure that's going into your house. If you want to go from an F up to an A, you've got to spend about £160,000, which there's not enough things in your house that you can do for that to actually do it. So it's value for money. The lifetime savings on the products are a minimum, it's going to last 45 years, minimum 2,500 quid. Some of these figures are before we had the rises that went up there. The energy efficiency that we've just done on the Eco 3 report, we were told by Ofgem to use 2011 energy prices. 2011 energy prices. And we all know we did it in August, yeah? So they're trying to play down the figures that you are actually saving. But let's just use common sense. If you leave your window open, that room goes cold in about 2 minutes. So if you're doing that in your house 24 hours a day, it's an easy way to save money. Now, what I want to do is give you some comparisons here to various things that you can do. Now, I'm not saying by any means that any of these are no good. They're all fantastic in their own right. Everybody has got a vision and a passion to save you energy and money. But you've got to use common sense. Why are we looking at these huge investments that we have here, which cost tens of thousands of pounds, with payback years of decades? Yeah? When Chimella is £75 to £120, payback is 2 months. So what we're saying is, yes, do the chimneys, but also do the other things. But we've not all got a bottomless pit of cash that we can all just delve into and do. And the organisation to get these things done is massively, it's draining on your time, your resources, and your stress levels as well. So what we're saying is, do the low-hanging fruit first. Do the draft proofing round your windows. You know, these Chimellas come in a little bag, in a long thin bag, and what we actually worked out that we could do at Christmas is stuff some old socks and stuff in there, and you've got yourself a draft excluder. It's a winner. You get 2 for 1. It's a bargain. Right? But look at these things here. I mean, look, solid wall insulation. There's massive issues with solid wall insulation. All the companies that did it originally all went bust when they started having damp issues with it, and now they're all coming around to quite happily take it out for you and charge it again. Yeah? Done correctly, it's fantastic, but still no good if you've got a great big hole in the roof. Everything has to be done together. If you've got a bucket with lots of holes, why repair them if you don't put a plug in the bottom? Really quite simple. So some of the big things that we've got here, like, you know, new triple glazed windows, love them. Fantastic. But then you go and put trickle vents in them. You've just defeated the whole object anyway. And the payback time is 96 to 300 years. I don't think they'll be around in that sort of time. But sometimes we're always buying things on what are we saving? What are we doing? It's not always about that. It's about what you want, yeah? And what you want to have for the aesthetics of the house as well. And what we're saying is, yes, you can have all those things. They're a big expense. They look fantastic. But if you really care about saving money, block off the chimneys, if you have a chimney. So, achievements to date. So, I'm not just a crazy guy with a chimney umbrella popping it up the chimney. You know, we have been, you know, on some of the big stages. We won the Energy Efficiency Products of the Year, you know, which has got over 1,000 people and entries going into it. All the big major players, you know, so we've won some really good awards on that there as well. We won the Hearth and Home exhibition, which is all the stove industry and the fireplace industry. They're a tough bunch, you know, and we won the product of the year for another product we've got called the Flue Clean, which basically helps them clean the chimneys out without having to seal everything off, using a very similar product to the Chimella. We were one of only 5 companies in the country to be awarded to be part of the demonstration action for Eco 3. It was a long old process, but we were one of, I think there's only 3 of us got actually through at the final end, which was approved by Ofgem. It was a £1 million project, and we basically proved that it is a great big hole in the roof, which we need to look at, and it needs to be part of the process. It was proven as the most energy efficiency product on the market, okay? Now, we've also been on Dragon's Den. Hey, you may have seen me, I was 6'8" when I was on that, but since then, it's, I've obviously gone down a little bit. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you, we've done other things, we're patented worldwide as well, and we're at the moment going through SAPs to get SAP points so that it's beneficial for you to put it into your house if you want to get an EPC rating. But really, you should be more bothered about the amount of money that you're spending and wasting going up the chimney. So if you saw £20 notes flying out the chimney every day, you would stop that immediately. Because it's out of sight, out of mind, I don't know why we're ignoring it, because the energy companies are stealing your money every single month when you look at how much it's coming out. I mean, my bills have gone up to £480 a month. You know, we haven't had the heating on, you know, and somewhere down the line, you've got to think about your own priorities, and that's about saving your own money. So look, I'm going to give you a quick blaster of the Dragon's Den.
I'm the inventor of CHIMELLA The Chimney Umbrella, designed to help you save energy and save money. It's fantastic. Well, it looks good, it's packed well, it's easy to use. All retail, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Your chimney draws out all the heat from inside the house. Love the brand. Love the packaging. Love the colours. I would not in any way do anything else but congratulate you on the products that you have developed and created.
See the passion, the drive, the belief that you find your product.
It changes your life.
It really solves the problem.
And enough of that, because on my stand that's playing in my ear 24/7. Okay, thanks guys for listening. May have been rabbiting on a little bit, but some Q&A. So ask me some questions and hopefully I can answer them for you. Or maybe not. Any hecklers? Perfectly good question, because listen, the hardest thing you'll ever do is measure your chimney, okay? So the beauty about Chimella is it's so adaptable to so many different shapes and sizes. 90% of all chimneys will fit with the standard size, okay? The large size will also fit into the smaller size, but there's no point spending 15 quid more if you don't need to. But what it's got is a slightly longer shaft as well. So when you look on the inside of your chimney, we're men, we look up there, we always think it's bigger than it really is, yeah? It's not as big as we think. So that, if you look at it in size, you know, I'm pretty broad and that's almost as broad as me. So when you actually look at that, you go, oh, hold on a second. Now, all chimneys will veer off to the right or to the left. Not all of them, most of them, yeah? If you had a chimney above, because what that's doing is avoiding the fireplace in the bedroom above, because otherwise, if you lit your fire down there, there'd be smoke going into the bedroom. So they're totally different flues. Now, this will fit at any angle as well. So once that goes in, it just adapts to the size of it on the inside. If you did get the wrong one, we're really good. We don't want to go, oh, well, tough, it's dirty, we can't use it. We'll always exchange it for the bigger size for you, because once you're part of the Chimella family, we want you to get the right size, because then you're going to feel the benefits and you're going to tell 10, 15 people what a great product it is. So we've got no issues with doing that at all. The reason I can do that without going bust is because it doesn't happen that often. Yeah, it's so flexible, it's great. The advantage of the larger one as well is it's got a slightly longer shaft. So some of the big Victorian fireplaces have got massive smoke chambers on the inside. So you'll have a little fireplace, you look inside and you've got the gateway to Narnia, right? It's just huge on the inside. Now the reason for that is early days there were big fireplaces, and then the Victorians thought, oh, let's just put a metal facade on the front of it, let's put a little fireplace on the front. So they go and put a little fireplace on the front, but they still had a big void behind it, which is why the air falls down on behind it. The old flaps that used to be there, the problem with those flaps are, one, they're not very good, but two, they're not stopping the air from falling behind it. So that whole fireplace becomes a reverse radiator. So that's kicking out cold and absorbing the heat from your house. So the whole thing is basically making your house cold. Once that goes up on the inside, it will go past that chamber, up to where it narrows, pop it up on the inside, and it's turning the air around higher up, so everything down below becomes room temperature, and that basically gives you a warmer house. So it's always good to have a little look on the inside, but what I always say to people, a little hack is count the bricks. So if you count one brick, you can, rather than trying to get up there to measure it, you go, right, okay, that's 1, 2, right, that's the size roughly of it. But always go one step higher. It's these ones here, the extra large, we didn't used to do that many of those, and then we did an editorial in the Listed Property magazine, and then everybody who's got big houses with big chimneys went, oh my God. And we sold about 600 of these in about a week, right? And so we're out of stock on these at the moment, so we're just getting some more in. But, you know, you don't always need to get that size. It's just gonna fit lower down. And that's it. Thank you very much indeed. Thanks for coming, and enjoy your day. Thanks. You're in your living room and it's nice and warm and somebody opens the window, how quickly does that room go cold? So that's happening 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you've got 8 chimneys in your house, 8 times a day, that's happening from all the different rooms all over the place, okay?